Hi, everybody. It's meteorologist Joe Cioffi on this, what day of the week is this? Monday. Just lost. It's Monday night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time, with the next series of model runs coming out. So thanks very much, Sebastian, Shellyman, Hosea, Timothy Veltman, Glenn Thompson, always smiling. Excuse me, up at this hour, you're never sleeping. Kyandri Bird, welcome. Corey Bodziak, haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Christian Rularaza, Anne-Marie Passaretti, Hosea Aknapong. I'm sorry, I think I got it right. Usual, good to see you back. Daniello, Brian Pober, new on the board, and Franklin Taylor, good to see you from good old Arkansas and Big L. So as everybody rolls on in, I want to kind of just go over a few things. I actually loaded up the Esref model, which is late tonight, naturally, but I can show it to you and give you an idea of how I look at it and how I use it. And we have the new NAMM, which is continuing to come out as we speak. So why don't we, first off, let me start in review. This is what I am going for, and this is under what the Weather Service is going for. I have my reasons for this, and I think given the fact, if this were 2 weeks ago, I probably would be higher than I am, but I'm trying to respect the fact that it is coming up on March 20th, to the first day of spring, Tuesday, and I have a broad band of 5 to 7 inches from Maryland on up through south central and southeastern Pennsylvania, most of southern New Jersey, except the extreme south, across to about New York City and Long Island, with progressively lower amounts as you go north and west. Now, I could very well need to move my lines up a bit. Maybe that orange line should be where the blue line is across northern New Jersey, and push the 3 to 5 up into the northwest and the 1 to 3 further north. I am not going to make any changes now. I'm going to leave things as they are. And, I admittedly will tell you that I could be conservative, but I just want to wait until this thing gets underway. With all these moving parts that we've been talking about over the last 6 or 7 days, and how they have just sent weather models in a spin, everything is coming together at this point, but there are still issues when you have a lot of moving parts around, even though the models seem to be zeroing in on how they are all going to work out together. We're still seeing some big changes from run to run, and this is always disturbing to me. I like to see a certain degree of consistency, and when I don't see it, I get nervous. Now, as far as what's showing up on the radar, I can at least tell you that when we look at the regional radar tonight, it's pretty loaded. There's a large amount of precipitation that is developed across Illinois and Indiana through southern Ohio, then arcing back around through eastern Kentucky into West Virginia and western Virginia. So everything seems to be moving along according to plan. We also have a severe weather outbreak going on across the Gulf states, and that is part of this low pressure that is moving across the Ohio Valley. We do have we had the Storm Prediction Center even putting some areas in a moderate risk for severe weather tonight, and there have been some reports of tornadoes. Here's the radar across the Gulf states, and you can see the strong thunderstorms moving across northern Alabama into northwestern Georgia and also through eastern Tennessee. So in terms of the signature that you're going to see on the radar in a situation like this is working out pretty much according to plan. So that at least gives you a little bit of confidence going forward. So I'm going to jump at this point. Let me just review very fast. We'll look at all the watches that are up and advisories, and there's quite a bit of them tonight. We have winter storm watches up from southeastern New England including Boston, most of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, all of Rhode Island, Connecticut, Long Island, southeastern New York State, including New York City, all of New Jersey, most of eastern Pennsylvania, but not the Northeast. We have winter storm watches up for Delaware, just about all of the state of Maryland. In fact, we already have a winter storm warning up for western Maryland and northeastern West Virginia. Watches extend into western Virginia and the rest of West Virginia. We've got advisories surrounding that area. And by the way, we do have, I think maybe for the first time this winter, we have a winter storm watch up for Washington, D.C. and for Baltimore. So Washington, Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York City, Hartford, and Boston, all under a winter storm watch. Much of the activity this year has been concentrated north of the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area. It's pretty very much late in the game for them to have that watch up. But hey, you know what? This is the way the winter's been, remarkable as it seems. Now, again, remember, a lot of moving parts to deal with here. We are, I'm going to show you a whole bunch of different maps like I usually do, but I just want you to keep in mind that as far as the snow maps are concerned, that the models generate the 10-to-1 snow maps. You got to use with a huge grain of salt. You would have to assume that every drop of liquid precipitation that falls as snow, and that it all sticks. And that is not likely to happen. Some of it is going to cut back by rain that's mixing in. Some of that's going to be cut back by sleet that's going to be around. And some areas may have a few hours of sleet to deal with. And the snow ratios may wind up being lower. The NAMM has some fairly cold surface temperatures, which would give a little upside to the accumulations if they occurred during the daytime, assuming that, of course, it snows hard enough. And in many places from central New Jersey and eastern Pennsylvania northeastward, the ground is actually pretty cold. We've had nights down in the 20s and teens. We're going to be down in the 20s and teens by Tuesday morning in my neck of the woods, and probably not much above 40 during the day tomorrow. So it's not like the prior two events when we had temperatures that were in the 40s and even the 50s the day before. This time around, it's been much colder for the last 5 days. So the ground, at least, is going to be working. Let's just say that I don't think it'll be working as much against us accumulating snow as it was in the prior cases. And of course, in inland areas that got hit with big snows, it didn't really matter because the snow fell so hard that it more than compensated for the fact that the temperatures weren't overly cold. Now, here's our surface plot on the GFS. Let me just, that's the old GFS. I want to go to the new NAMM first. And we'll also look at the 3-kilometer NAMM. So here's the situation that the model views at the moment. We've got, remember, there's two pieces to this. We have a lead low and then a second low that's going to develop. Now, oftentimes in these instances, it makes too much of the first low and not enough of the second. That seems to be playing out here to some degree. Now, for the mid-Atlantic states, by morning, it will be, you can see that large area of sleet that develops probably just north of Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. It's going to be very important to watch the surface observations tomorrow morning because that'll give us a measure of how far south the cold air is bleeding down from the high that's up to the north. This first area of precip, and I think this makes sense, it gets just about to New York City when it stops, okay? You've got some snow back through south central and southwestern Pennsylvania, sleet into southeastern Pennsylvania, and rain over the Delmarva Peninsula and southern New Jersey. This is as of late Tuesday afternoon. That first low is going to move out and basically disappear. The second low, and the more important one, is the low that's going to be right along the Carolina coast near Wilmington on this run. And by tomorrow evening, this is at 10 o'clock, we've got rain actually very close to the south shore of Long Island. Sleet now breaking out across southwestern New Jersey, still sleeting in southeastern Pennsylvania. And back then it changes over to snow as we go to the west. Now, as that low becomes the main low-pressure center, you can see it here, southeast of Hatteras, barely. We are still waiting for the precipitation to move up into the northern New Jersey, New York City, southern New England area. By 5 a.m. Wednesday morning, it's still not there. Still sleeting across much of southeastern Pennsylvania into southwestern New Jersey. And then finally, as we move toward daybreak, we start to see that area of precipitation move northward as the low is east of the Delaware coast. And that's where it sits all day. And, you know, the NAMM model, late this evening's NAMM model is at the very least even with what was being shown from prior runs. And in fact, it looks like it is slower in moving out snow. This is at 2 a.m. on Thursday, and it is still snowing through all of New Jersey and Long Island. And even at 5 a.m., it's snowing from New York City on eastward. Now, this is supposed to be the radar presentation. So the NAMM seems to be slowing the slow down just a little bit, and then it moves on to the east. And you can see, by the way, how the snow eventually works its way up into Boston, southern New Hampshire, and Maine. So it looks like that the surface low on the NAMM at least gets a little further north on this run before it gets ejected out to the east, and it prolongs the snow into the early morning hours on Thursday. So that at least is a sign that the forecasts that are out there are probably okay. This is one model that we're looking at, and I want to look at others. It may very well turn out that this could be something that might push me to nudge my numbers up a little bit. But again, I still want to be cautious here. Everybody seems to be overly excited about this. I think maybe it's because of the fact that there's, basic storm fatigue with all of this. And everybody's on edge, particularly in my area from the first three Noreasters with all the power outages that occurred. They don't want to repeat performance. Now, here's the NAMM precip field, very robust. And notice it's got 2-inch plus liquids in northwest New Jersey in an area where I only have 1 to 3 inches. So I'm going to have to, maybe reconsider this. 2-inch plus precip along the New Jersey coast, touching the south shore of Long Island. Every bit of 1.5 inches across Long Island and through New York City. If we generate these kind of liquids, my numbers are going to be low. I'm going to have to take them up by at least 50%. The Weather Services at least be even with the Weather Services numbers. So the NAMM, from what we have seen, is very consistent with its ideas. And I guess, if you want to look at it, if you're a snow lover, you should probably be happy about this. I would just, add this statement, and that is with these Noreasters the way they've been, the 4 in 2.5 weeks is way too much to handle, and I really want this to go away. I think a lot of people want this to go away. When we look at the upper air, we have a vigorous cutoff that's developing right overhead. The short wave to the north is trying to lift it up to the northeast, seems to be doing a fair job of it. The block to the northeast is holding it closer to the coastline, taking a little longer for it to get out of the way. And that could be the reason why that the NAMM slows down the exit of the precip. So why don't we now at this point, let's roll back. Let's go back to the beginning. I'm going to switch to the 3-kilometer NAMM. And let's see what that does. So here we have the 3-kilometer NAMM. And, same idea so far. A lot of precip by tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Sleet and snow in southeastern PA, back through most of Maryland. Looks like it changes it over to snow a little faster as we move through Tuesday. And see, the 3-kilometer wants to bring that sleet area up into northern New Jersey with that first low up into New York City by evening. Doesn't get much further north than that. And then we wait for what should be a second low. This kind of handles it a bit differently. It almost takes that first low and just sits it there. And gradually you get the precip to blossom again during the day on Wednesday, where much of the New York City area gets pounded. You can see those dark blue heavy snows only out through 47 hours here on the 3-kilometer NAMM. So this is through 7 o'clock Wednesday evening. So at the very least, the 3-kilometer NAMM is not that much different from the 12-kilometer, and we have this model's representation of what the satellite and radar should look like. So I think this is pretty interesting. Thank you, Levi Cowan with Tropical Tidbits, by the way, for having all of this available to us. But here's how it's supposed to look on the radar and the satellite. Those clouds increasing coming in during the morning hours. There's that first area. Now remember, the 12-kilometer, that first area pretty much falls apart. On the 3-kilometer, it holds together, and it would be a sleet storm around here tomorrow evening if that's right. The heavier snow precip waits until Wednesday during the day when that coastal low gets going. And this is when the upper low now envelops everything and takes over, and this is where some of the bigger snows begin to develop. So the NAMM 3-kilometer, as I said, with the 12, looking pretty consistent. Let's look at its snowfall. This is 10-to-1. Remember, this is every flake falls as snow and sticks. So we know that's probably not going to happen, and we know that a lot of this is sleet down here. So we have to kind of subtract that out. This is only through noon on Wednesday. I'm going to be so curious to see how this all plays, folks. This whole thing has got me just absolutely fascinated. I want to show you, by the way, this is how the NAMM 3-kilometer sees the temperature profile, which is going to be important. That 32-degree line is the dashed line. Here's that blue line here that you see here. The dashed line that lies in between is the freezing line, which cuts right across Long Island through New York City and cuts down through southwestern New Jersey. So everywhere north and west of there is less than 32. That whole surface profile of temperatures, if it's correct, is colder than what we saw in the prior 3 nor'easters, and particularly the last 2, which produced more snow. And here's the 12-kilometer. You can see where the 32-degree line is. Ice slip to Sandy Hook, down to about Millville, through central Delaware, Dover, south of Washington, D.C., south of Baltimore. And as we go through the day, that that blue line is 30 degrees, that first blue line. So everybody is, except for the eastern half of Long Island, everybody is below freezing on the surface temperatures. This is at 5 in the evening. So I'm telling you that if that's the case, you're going to see snow accumulate on paved surfaces faster than what was indicated in what happened in the prior events. And as we go into the nighttime hours, actually, as the precipitation starts to lighten, the temperatures actually edge up a little bit. You can see that freezing line actually moves northwestward, and this is now by 11 a.m. Thursday. Of course, everything is long gone at this point. I want to just stay with the 3 and see if we've got any further than what we've seen so far. And we do, in fact. So you can see right up until 1 a.m. still showing snows going on through Connecticut, the Hudson Valley, and Long Island. Do we have the total snow yet? So let's look at accumulated precip and see how far that goes. So this is through 11 a.m. on 11 p.m. Wednesday night. Look at this large area of 2+ inches. But again, remember how much of that is from that first low and how much is from the second low. That's something we can't really break apart on this. And I think we have if I can bring this up, I don't know which one it is because it's hard for me to read. It might be this one. Let me see. What is this? All right, so this is the positive snow growth through 11 o'clock. So if you want to use this as a gauge, I mean, the amounts are lower, but it certainly says that what I'm predicting is going to be accumulating on most surfaces. And maybe on grassy surfaces, you might wind up a bit higher. On the 12-kilometer NAMM, we have the snow amounts, of course, on the positive snow growth. Look at these big amounts that they have up in Northwest Jersey. I'm going to be a big bust if that's right, but I'll wait till the tomorrow morning. If I've got to raise amounts over there, I'll raise them. But right now, I'm just going to leave things alone. Let me see if the new Esref is out, and I'll show you what I have on that. I haven't really used the Esref model. It's a Stony Brook model. It's a model that has models 26 members, I believe, on that Stony Brook model. And if you Google Esref Plume, P-L-U-M-E, this is what they look like. All the model members snow amounts are plotted on this graphical representation, and these lines are what we are referred to as the plumes. So on the side I have the total snowfall, and this was the model run from mid-afternoon. I put up Islip on Long Island. The black line is the average of all the members. And if you look on the side, you have the scale here telling you how many inches. So the very top member is that orange one, and that member predicted a snowfall of 15 inches. But you'll notice, by the way, that bulk of it falls in a very short period of time during the day on Tuesday, and it has nothing on Wednesday. And you have some models that are quite low, but the mean is that black line. And if I can hit that correctly, it looks like the Islip mean was about 5.5 inches on the old run. The new run should have been out an hour ago. So let's click on the 21. And unfortunately, they are delayed. But if you pull up the Esref on your own, at the bottom, you can't really see it here, but underneath this is an interactive map, and you can move it along to different spots. And when you click on the blue dots that are on the map, geographic map, you can move around to different locations all around the United States. Now, this was LaGuardia from earlier, and it had a mean of, I believe, it's hard for me to see because the number is so small. It looks like 6.97 for snow. And I'll switch over to White Plains, for example, and it had a mean of 6.85. If I go a little bit further to the south, I'll pull up Philadelphia, and the Philadelphia mean is right here, 7.15. But I want you to notice these members. Look how high these numbers are: 20, 25, 30. It gives one member gave Philadelphia 35 inches. Now we know that that's not going to happen. I would X out these three high amounts, and the mean will probably come in a bit lower. And I think this is because of the fact that the hours and hours of sleet that is forecast to occur. I'm going to put up Columbia. I believe that's Columbia, Maryland. It's southwest of Baltimore, and that is the mean there is, I can't read that number, 5.92. Again, these are from the old one, and in Washington, D.C., it gives a mean of 4.83. Is the new one out yet? No, sadly not. But I'm going to leave this up here just in case we get one more snow event. Pray to God that we don't. I don't want another one. I'm tired. Okay, I am very tired. So just again, let me just refresh everybody with respect to what I'm going for in snow amounts. And admittedly, I'm being conservative. I understand that. The NAMM tonight, it gives me at least the confidence of knowing that we're going to get, I think we're going to get these amounts are a pretty good bet. And I may have to push these numbers up, the ones in the northwestern county, and push them up. But I'm going to wait till tomorrow morning in order to do that. So again, this was I wanted to do just a quick update on what's going on tonight. We won't have the GFS for another hour, so we'll just have to. You'll just have to check the website or wait till morning in order to see that. So let me just take any of your questions that you have. And yeah, Shelly Man Studios, spring is coming only because it has to. Let's see. Rob Lawson, where you are, you still have a foot of snow from this winter. I wish it would melt. It won't happen this week. I'm curious, Rob, as to where you are. I actually have snow in shaded areas here on Long Island. We still have snow on the ground, which is really, it's odd considering how, this time of year, usually this stuff melts away fairly quick. Mark Drums calling for 8 to 12 in Connecticut. Okay, Connecticut's not a small state, Mark Drums. Tell me where you are in Connecticut. It's not unreasonable that you could wind up with those with amounts that high, and you've already had. You just came off a 12 to 24 inch snowfall from the last nor'easter. And yeah, Joshua Pan, the snow maps looked like the last nor'easter. They started low and moved on the way up. Remember, we had a lot of things to look at with this one, a lot of moving parts that had to be accounted for, and that that definitely accounts for the fact that you started with low numbers. You always start really with low numbers. You get an idea of what the potential is, but it's you can't come out with any kind of confidence 5 days out about how much you're going to have. The accuracy level of trying to come up with a snowfall forecast 5 days in advance over the long term is exceptionally low. And Super Syed, with a little luck, with DC 3.7 inches for the season so far, I assume that's what you have. I know the numbers down there are pretty low. Maybe you can double that amount with this one event. And Cullen's at 38.5 on the season. I'm at 52.4, by the way, in central Long Island. Just as a comparison, the coast has done much better than inland spots, although a lot of inland spots caught up and passed the coast in the last 3 weeks. There are areas across the inland spots in just north and west of New York City that have picked up a season's worth of snowfall just in the last 3 weeks. Snow maps should be, I don't know about 5 to 1, Fabian, 7 to 1, 7 or 8 to 1. I think seems fair. I think that's fair to take it. Take 75% of the 10 to 1 maps, and I would say make that your top end. Okay. And that might not work out too badly. Tidewater might be tough. Where is the love? I don't know how far south the snow is going to get, but some of that cold air is going to bleed down pretty far south into eastern Virginia. It's just a matter of whether the precip cuts off before the cold air gets in. We'll have to see with regards to that. And yes, Christian Rillarazza, you got severe thunderstorm warnings popping up across the eastern Gulf states at the moment. Let's see. Weatherman Nick, a lot of snow coming for Towson, Maryland, 6 to 12. That's what they're calling for. That's what you're calling for in your location. You're going to get a good shot of precip. How much of that's going to be sleet, though? That's my big question. Are you going to have a bulk of that fall as sleet and cut that amount down way back? That is something that we're going to have to certainly consider. There's going to be a fairly sizable sleet storm in some places if the NAMM model is correct. Why don't I see if the Foose is in? Still don't have the 21Z Esrefs, but I'll check the Foose so we can get some specific numbers for LaGuardia and Philadelphia, because that's always helpful to me. The Foose is the numerical printout of the model, and it gives a profile of what the precip. It breaks down the precip into specific 6-hour increments. So, for example, LaGuardia, very impressive LaGuardia on the Foose. It gives LaGuardia, and it looks like all of this is snow. Virtually all of it is snow. So we get 68, 8, 76, an inch and a half of liquid falls, and the bulk of it falls during Wednesday and even into Wednesday night, 1 a.m., another 0.2 falls during the evening as cold air is advecting in. So you're talking about, you know, if that's all snow and it all sticks, that's a foot for New York City, if that's correct. Okay, the big if. Philadelphia was going to get some sleet in there, so they get 22, 48, 63, 86, 122, 140, over 1.5 inches of liquid falls at Philadelphia, and over 1.5 inches falls at Boston. Boston is all snow. Philadelphia is sleet to snow. You know, not too shabby. Not too shabby with some of these numerical amounts that the NAMM is giving when we look at the numerical guidance with regards to what it produces. So, you know, it's kind of looking, at least based on the NAMM model, that I'm going to have to go up on my amounts. But I'm not, as I said, I'm not going to do it yet. I'm going to wait till tomorrow morning to do what I have to do. It's almost 11 o'clock at night, and I think it's probably, if I do it now, it's most people aren't going to see it. So we're just going to leave things as they are and just wait. So, Corey Bodziak, you want to see the positive snow growth map? Let me pull it up for you. Hang on one second. We'll get that NAMM up there for you again. Let me bring that up front and center. And widen it out just a little bit. So this is the positive snow growth of the NAMM. Notice the coastal areas only show about 3 inches or so, and then you get into the 6-inch amounts. The NAMM has the heaviest precip pinned back north and west, so it generates some big amounts up in northwest New Jersey. What a tough forecast this is. I mean, really, all the way around. This is as tough of all the storms this winter. I think I'm having the toughest time with this one, and maybe part of that has to do with fatigue, but no matter. Got another day of watching this, and at least another 4 model runs to get through. So it's a lot of stuff to absorb and a lot of information. All right, folks, we're going to leave it here. We will update you tomorrow. Keep your fingers crossed on whichever way you want it to turn out. Some of you snow lovers want it to go one way. Those of you who want this to go away obviously want it to do something else. By the way, we should mention that we're going to have a long easterly fetch developing for the coastal areas starting later tomorrow and lasting through almost all of Wednesday. So there are going to be some high tide cycles that are going to be problematic, and that means coastal flooding for Long Island and New Jersey, and probably down even into Delaware, including Delaware Bay, New York Harbor, and also the coastal flooding possibly for southeastern New England. So we should bear that in mind. We're moving away from the new moon and toward the first quarter, which is at least positive from that respect. It's a good thing that we're not going into the new moon now or into a full moon. That is a good thing. William Huber, every day we are one day closer to fishing, and that is a good thing. Website posts and other forecast maps. If you want to check out the National Weather Service forecast maps, just go to the website, meteorologistjoecioffi.com, and hit on snow forecasts, and you can get every National Weather Service snow forecast map from Virginia to New England. And there was also, we did the Joe and Joe show on Facebook today earlier, so you might want to check that out on my Facebook page, Meteorologist Joe Cioffi. Have a great what's left of your Monday. Sleep well, and we will see you in the morning.